All right, looks like we're live. So this should have gone ahead and tweeted something out. So let me go ahead and check out my Twitter profile. And yeah, it looks like we're live there. So that's good. So we'll give some time for people to start coming in, and we can start seeing some of the idea of how many people are here, right there. So I think we'll wait maybe like 2 minutes and let people come on in. And, if anyone is here, feel free to start chatting, ask us any questions. We can answer them until we start actually doing the stream. And what we're going to basically be doing today is kind of looking at Fig and getting an idea of how to use it. So should be fun.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, I haven't done a lot of streams lately with other guests, but I have a lot of plans to do more of them. So this is a good start to that.
Yeah, we'll be the beta testers for the stream.
Cool.
It could go. Maybe it'll go terribly. Maybe it'll go so badly you decide not to do any streams anymore.
No, I think it's going to go great. Cool. So, all right. So I think we have enough people that are in here now. It looks like we have about 70 people or so between the different platforms. So yeah, let's go ahead and kick this thing off. So today we're going to be looking at Fig, which is actually, let me let you two introduce yourselves and introduce Fig, because you can probably introduce it better than I can. So yeah, how about Brendan, do you want to go first? Give us an introduction and tell us what Fig is.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Brendan. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Fig. Fig is an app store ecosystem for your terminal. So I'll sort of tell you the quick summary of how we got to the idea. I'm a self-taught engineer, and I feel like pretty much everyone, when they start coding for the first time, has to use the terminal. And you go, oh my God, what the hell is this? It is so different to everything else on your machine. The key bindings don't work. Your cursor doesn't work. It's completely different. And so the crazy thing when you look into it a little more is the terminal has not really changed at all since the 70s. And yet it is still used by just about every single developer, about 50 million devs, pretty regularly. And so that's the idea behind Fig. It is, how can we reimagine the terminal for the 21st century for these modern workflows that developers are actually doing, but with sort of, yeah. Anyway, we can talk more about it later on. A quick background on me. I'm from Australia originally. I graduated from Harvard in 2020 in the midst of the pandemic and went straight through Y Combinator and straight after graduating with my co-founder, Matt.
Oh, dope. Harvard. I think you might be the first person I've interviewed that's been to Harvard before. So I'm probably going to ask you a bunch of questions about that later on. All right.
Hey, everybody. My name is Hassan. I graduated from Drexel University last year, and I do growth and developer relations at Fig, and I'm originally from Morocco.
Nice. So we have people from all sorts of backgrounds. We have a high school dropout. We have a Harvard grad, and we have someone from Morocco background. I'm Palestinian background. So yeah, that's good stuff.
The immigrants we're taking over.
So yeah, I guess to kind of get things started, what would someone using Fig versus someone that is never used Fig before be the first thing that they would probably want them to know? Like they install Fig, they start using it. Like, what are the things that you think that they would get the most value of, like just starting off?
So the very first thing we found people struggled with the terminal, as I said at the start, is it's just this scary environment, and you don't know that if what you type is actually correct. And so the very first product we've built at Fig is autocomplete, taking the sort of IntelliSense you get in IDEs like VS Code or even in online IDEs and bringing that to your existing terminal. There is sort of a rudimentary autocomplete already in like Bash and Z Shell, but we are really taking this IDE level autocomplete and putting it smack bang in the middle of your terminal. When you get set up, like, you see this instantly. It's like out of the box. We work with whatever terminal you already work with. So you go into iTerm on macOS or even VS Code, and then suddenly you type, and let's say you type CD. Fig's pop-up, the aim is to show every single thing that you could possibly type next. So if you're not seeing Fig's pop-up, you've typed something incorrectly.
That makes sense. And like, if you're installing packages and stuff, like, how does that work? I've noticed that, like, if I'm running npm install or yarn, it automatically fetches, like, it starts auto completing that. And even, does that actually interact with the npm?
Yep. So what we've tried to do is define our own standard, and you can actually bucket pretty much every single CLI tool into this standard that we have defined. Like 99%, there are some CLI tools that are a little weird, but basically you can say every CLI has a subcommand, has options, or it has arguments. And then what our standard is it's basically just a big tree structure that, okay, subcommands can nesp any subcommands, subcommands can have arguments, etc. And then so for npm install, for instance, what we do is for arguments, we have this concept we call a generator. I won't go into too much depth, but we can ping some server, get the output, and then render those suggestions right there as you're typing. So yeah, it is cool. You type in npm install space and then start typing REA, and we can just go, oh, do you mean React? Do you mean React Redux? Do you mean anything else? And it's very, very quick, which is super cool.
Very cool. So for people that may be just jumping in, we're here with Fig, the founder or the co-founder, I would say, as well as Hassan, who is the developer advocate there. And we're talking about Fig, which is kind of terminal tooling. And we're going to be doing a demo, and we're kind of, giving an overview and just having a quick chat about it. So like, sounds like it would be really good for people that are just getting into development, just getting started with the terminal. Would you think that this is also a good thing for people that are like advanced users as well?
Yeah, for sure. It is, Hassan, I'll let you get a word in as well. I'll answer this one. But yeah, we thought originally that this would be only a tool that new engineers would use and get value out of. And what we found is, let's say you're doing a Git push, for instance, Git push, origin master. Like previously you'd have to work out, all right, what branch am I on and which branch do I want to push to? You need to check out the relevant branch. And so what we can do by offering these sort of contextual suggestions is we can sort of save you from running one or two commands, and you can just, rather than running Git Checkout or whatever and then going straight to Git push, we can save that whole workflow and do it all in one. So it actually is just faster. So for the beginner engineers, it is, I've got no freaking clue what I'm doing. And now it's like, I can see what's happening. This makes sense to me. And then for the advanced engineers, it is purely just a faster way of getting what you need to get done.
Nice. So
another stat I'll just add in is like most of the users we have on Fig have been coding for like 5+ years. So it's not, we do have a lot of early stage users. We also have people who've been coding for like 25 years and it just works for them. Yeah.
So right now Fig is still in kind of like a private beta. Is that right?
Yeah.
And when do you feel like that the public beta will be launched? And I guess if someone wants to try it out, they can just sign up and give them the email and then maybe get in sometime soon.
Yeah, we, today we should have set up a link so everyone could actually download it if they were listening to the stream. And maybe I'll do that live whilst we're talking.
Yeah, shoot out a tweet or something. I can retweet it. Or maybe respond in line.
I'll like put up, a couple of hundred invites. So yeah, it's in a private beta. The reason we have the private beta is not for exclusivity and to, be this cool thing and you can only get into it because you have invites. It's really just because the integrations we have to do are very like systems heavy and every developer has a custom environment. And so we've just been spending so much time giving it out to a bunch of users, seeing what happens. And inevitably someone has some like crazy environment set up where Fig doesn't work. We'll fix that. We'll fix those bugs. And so now we're actually finally getting to the point where we're giving it out to people and it just sort of completely works out of the box 80 to 90% of the time. So we're trying to get that a little bit further up. And then, yeah, it's going to be blast off. Let's open the waitlist up. We don't want, as I said, we don't want this waitlist for exclusivity. We are purely doing it for just, we have limited engineering resources and we can't build product if we're constantly trying to fix bugs that we know exist and we just need the time to fix them.
Awesome. So do you feel like it's a good time for us to jump into some code or some demo?
Yeah, Hassan, you want to do a demo?
Sure. So I don't know if you want to do Git Checkout first, but I can
show the app. I think the app is, sure. It's very hard to explain like what we mean. And then you see it and you're just like, oh, okay. And then whilst you're doing that, I'll set up an invite link and I can like drop it in the chat, for instance, and maybe get you to retweet it.
Cool.
Perfect.
All right. So I'm at my terminal right now. Do you guys see my my screen?
Looks great.
Awesome. So the idea is Fig, like as you're typing, it shows up, this little window shows up with autocomplete. So if I want to CD into something, I automatically get this window that shows me all of the current folders that I can CD into. And so I can go into my desktop and then go into old desktop and then like kind of go back. And there's like all of these like kind of cool shortcuts that pop up. So I don't have to constantly do the, ls CD applications, like the LSCD dance. And that's a really small example, but like that kind of applies to a lot of things. If I want to brew install something, right? I get like a list of literally all of the suggestions that I could possibly want. And it just like autofills right there. If you brew install real force, I click enter and it works. For uninstalling things is kind of cool as well. If I want to brew uninstall something, it automatically fetches all of the casks and formulae that I have on my computer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so this is something that just like it'll help everyone, no matter if you're a beginner or not, because you're gonna have to look up this stuff anyway. It's like smart with like npm stuff as well. If we cd into like a directory, let's go into a React app, for example. I have a React app over here. This is actually our settings app. But if I do like npm uninstall, right, it'll automatically parse out my package.json.
Oh, nice.
All the packages in there. Yeah, and show you. So I can
see. I've already learned like 5 things. I've been using Fig for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I can open up like my package.json, and so that's what it does over here. Like these like React down, React icons. And the beauty of Fig is it works on like multiple different terminals. Like it'll work. It'll work on your VS Code terminal as well. So if we do npm uninstall right here, we can see everything. We can install things. It just helps with a lot of these workflows that are otherwise, sometimes a little annoying, and it just gives you that context.
Do you want to show hard hat?
Yeah. So let's talk about hard hat. I was actually reading through your very popular full stack Ethereum guide and going through some of the stuff here, but I set up a sample hard hat project, which let's go into here. Yeah, so this is a hard hat project here, and we could do npx. Oops, that is a bug. I'm just gonna reload this page. 1 second. So let's go into
some pretty good comments coming in. It looks like people are either
already
using it or they
so
have
nice.
good feedback.
So nice of everyone. Thank you.
And then someone that's on the wait list chimed in. Maybe you can
Nader, I just sent you a link in the I've never used StreamYard before, but I just sent it in the private chat section, which has the download link. I mean, I'm happy to share it. Do you want me to share it on Twitter?
Share it like with anyone watching the stream in the public chat, and if you're okay with that, just maybe disable. But the thing is this link going to be live forever? Because maybe you don't want it to be available after the stream.
No. Like we just put 150 invites on it.
So okay, gotcha. Perfect. Yeah, feel free to
if you don't have it. I think I may need to log into StreamYard, so I might leave it to you. Do you want to drop it in?
I can do that. Let me go ahead.
I sent it in the private chat.
All right. Sorry, Hassan. I did not mean to interrupt.
Take your time. Take your time, please.
There you go. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So someone asked, how can I download it? And right now you can go to their website and sign up for the wait list. But actually, we did post a link now that's exclusive for anyone watching the stream. You can go ahead and download it now.
Cool. So let me go over how hard hat works. So I'm in a sample hard hat like an environment repo, and we could do like npx. See, it automatically detects like what commands I get from my package.json. So I can go and click hard hat, and then I get all the possible commands that I could do with hard hat.
Oh, that is really nice.
Yeah. So it's cool in that like whatever you type, like if I type run, okay, we have a run command. If I try to type like yarn or some crap like that, the Fig window disappears and you automatically know that you've done something wrong, right? And then you can just backtrack to whatever you want to do. Another cool way that some people use it is they kind of use it as documentation. Like instead of going to the hard hat docs and looking up like, oh, how do I run this project, right? I can just use the documentation here. We have this little shortcut called Command I. It's a little small, but it kind of abstracts out the description to the right. And so you can see exactly what everything does. Like, oh, let's say we want to compile. See, oh, this compiles the entire project. Let's click on it and we can enter and run the command. I'm going to go ahead and cancel it because I don't want to run that. Yeah, so
you can compile it. You compile it's all right.
Yeah, that's a little demo of hard hat. I can go into the completion spec as well, which is like how we've built it. So let me actually do that. So
and just one bit of context for everyone. All of this stuff all of these completion specs and the standard that we've defined is all open source. So our repo, org name and repo is with fig/autocomplete. Yes. And basically the way it works is if you have an internal CLI tool that you want to build autocomplete for, Or if you want to contribute to a public CLI tool like Git or Docker or Kubernetes, all of this is just open source. We have spent a ton of time making it ridiculously easy to get set up. It is like fork the repo, run this one command, and suddenly you can like build your own autocomplete. I can even like build a dummy spec, and we can do that later on. But yeah, the whole idea behind this is we have spent so much time trying to make it so ridiculously easy to build autocomplete. So when Hassan showed that hard hat demo, he literally built that in like 10 minutes. He just sort of copied the docs, pasted into the standard that we've defined, and then it was live, pushed it. So not like this is a hard thing to do at all.
Oh yeah, very, very, very quick. And just to give like a 30-second overview of like how these are structured, this is kind of the mapping with like most CLI tools, right? If we look at Git Checkout, right? We have a command, we have a subcommand, we have an option that typically starts with a dash, and then we have an argument, which is what we want the user to type. And our completion spec standard follows this exact guideline. So if I go down to like Git Checkout, this is how it would look like, right? We have
it's a little small. You might have to zoom in just a tiny bit. But yeah, that's good.
So this is how it typically look like. This should be called Git. So at the top level, we have Git, right? And then we have a description, and the description is the thing that shows up like to the right when I'm like hovering over a command in Fig. And then we have a subcommand over here, which is checkout, right? So we have Git Checkout, and then that subcommand has an option underneath it, -B, and then that option has an argument underneath it, which is branch. So they typically just follow this exact layout, and I'll show the same thing for hard hat right now.
So yeah, it's really just a tree. That's it. You think of common CLI tools used like Git, okay, Git, and then under that there's commit and push and pull and everything. And then under that there are options and arguments underneath each of those subcommands.
Definitely, yeah. So this is how it looks for hard hat. I have defined the name, I defined the description, and then I defined all of the like options it could take. And then let me collapse the options and make it a little bigger. So, and then over here, define all the possible subcommands. So this is the ones that you've seen. So accounts has a description, and then check has a description. And let me just pull this up at the same time. So if I do npx hard hat, right, we get all of these different ones. So if I'm accounts, prints a list of account. So this whole thing is literally this one line of code. It's very, very easy to get up and running and kind of make these completion specs.
So, but like, if you don't write this spec, does Fig automatically detect if someone like created a new CLI tool tomorrow, would Fig automatically support that?
You would have to build a completion spec for the CLI tool. And
okay,
what we're
doing,
so
like the ones that are there now are built by Fig team?
Like Fig team, and we have about 70 or 80 contributors who have also participated in building all of these specs. What we're doing now though is there are lots of not a lot. There may be like 5 to 10 frameworks that people use to build their CLI tools. So if you're in the JavaScript ecosystem, you might use Oakcliff or Yargs. If you're in Go, you might use Cobra. And so what we're doing is building sort of plugins for these frameworks so that when you compile your CLI tool, we'll also pop out a completion spec in the Fig standard, and ideally just keep pushing that to the repo as well. So yeah, as we said, we're trying to make it so ridiculously easy to build these completions for your existing CLI tool. That's our goal here.
Cool.
Yeah, so we're building more and more of these like automatic scrapers. Like Oakcliff is a pretty popular CLI framework, and we've actually built a script so that like if you build your CLI on Oakcliff, it'll automatically get supported on Fig. Like we just run a script and it generates the whole completion spec.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So we're definitely
one of the things we're looking into actually is, I mean, there are a ton of these tools out there, but the standard that we've defined sort of encompasses everything. Like, why can't you build your entire CLI tool in a Fig completion spec? Essentially, it's just adding an extra parameter like commands to execute, and then that's what's executed. So we're pushing into that. We're not quite there yet, but yeah, rather than using another framework, you could actually theoretically do all of this in Fig.
Yep. So that's it for the quick demo. Let me just talk about run real quick. So this is a subcommand that has an option underneath it, and just to show you how it pops up. So if I do npm hard hat and I type in run and enter, and then I do space, all of the available options will pop up. So you can see it's just like a tree structure that goes down and down and down.
Nice. So like
Panther G, what do you mean by does it do self-heal?
I wasn't sure if that was like a joke or something I don't understand about something,
Oh, yeah.
some technology jargon that I'm not aware of. It could be either.
Either way, I want to hear the answer.
Yeah.
And actually, another cool thing I can talk about is I looked into another crypto CLI tool called Ganache CLI. And this one's actually a little more interesting because it takes, like, its options take arguments. So let me actually type Ganache CLI, and then we can see a bunch of stuff here. So fork cache size, for example, it shows us that it takes a number right after.
Oh, nice. So that's like the argument.
Exactly. So if we have an argument here, it shows you exactly what the argument is. So if we press enter, and then now we see that we have to type a number here.
That is nice.
So very, very straightforward, and we can just type the number and press enter. Yep.
So yeah, as we said at the start, like if you don't see Fig, sorry, you've done something wrong. That's the sort of goal that we're going for here. It's like, yeah, the whole world of things that I could possibly type next is encapsulated in Fig's autocomplete.
Someone asked, is it available on Windows? I think it's only Mac right now, right?
Yeah, just Mac OS only. Our focus right now is let's do an amazing job on Mac OS. To get Fig working, like if we take a step back and look at what we've done, the GUI, if you keep this up, Hassan, just stop typing for a second. That GUI, the Fig GUI that you see there, that's not a VS Code extension. That's not like an iTerm extension. This is us working out where the hell is your cursor at the Mac OS level, and then positioning our own app window right next to your
Makes
cursor.
sense.
Also working out, hey, is VS Code the frontmost window, or is it Google Chrome, or is it Firefox, whatever else? So we're doing all of this stuff around your system just to actually make it feel native. So there are a ton of like little integration things we have to do at the operating system level, and so we want to make sure we've nailed the experience on Mac OS, and then and people are using it and loving it every day. It's so hard to support cross-platform, and so we just want to nail Mac OS, and then once we've done that, bam, we're going to go everything. Like there'll be different integration stuff that we'll have to do on Windows and Linux, but totally want to do it because we want to support this as much as possible.
So when I started using Fig, I noticed that almost every project or every thing I was doing was supported by Fig. So like, I guess the question is like, who decides to write one of these additional integrations, or do you keep an eye out for like the things that are popular in the community and you automatically create them, or does the community, or is it maybe a combination of both?
I think the cool thing, as we said, we make it so easy to build these CLI tools. So we don't use Kubernetes at Fig. We just like most of the stuff, not most, all of our stuff is locally hosted. So we barely have any hosting costs. So like, I just don't know the kubectl CLI spec super well. But we had users start using Fig going, holy crap, the way I can CD and navigate around is awesome. Npm install, awesome. Like all of this stuff is awesome. I would love this for kubectl. And it was just like, hey, I've got a couple of hours. I'm going to just contribute and make my own life easier in kubectl because I've had some weird pain points with it. So they would contribute. And then someone else had the same problem. Hey, like I use similar workflows, but it's a little bit different. And so I'm going to contribute as well. And it's really just people solving their own pain points for CLI tools. We have obviously done a lot of them, like the big core ones around CD and NPM and Git. But even then, like these tools are massive and there are always workflows that aren't supported. And that's why we're making it so easy to contribute. It's like, if you want to scratch your own itch, just use Fig and you can solve it pretty quickly and push it live for the rest of the world to use.
Yeah, this is a great example of someone who did that. This is Dan. He used Hugo. He loved Fig and he used Hugo a lot. And there wasn't a completion spec for that. So he just went on and wrote one himself. And he did that and just submitted a PR. We gave him a few comments and we just merged it in. So it's just.
That's it. I need to write a completion spec. I think the graph CLI might be a good one for me to do if it's already not been done.
Ooh, that's a good
That'd be great. That'd be good. We'd love it. And yeah, we're big on like, let's get these PRs merged as soon as possible. We want this to be accessible to everyone. So yeah.
Well, this is awesome. So is there any other stuff that you want to demo, or can we start taking a few more questions?
Yeah, we can take a few more questions. I think the only thing, we could build a completion spec together. It seems like Hassan's sort of already done that. I think the interesting thing to show would be around argument suggestions. So then you can demo this, Hassan, if you want to. I can talk over it. So
yeah, that would be a cool demo.
Going in, actually, I'll demo. I'll share my screen.
Yeah, go for it. You go for it.
So can you see my screen okay?
No, I need to add it. I'm sorry. There we go.
Okay, cool. So this should be a little bit easy to see. I'm in our with Fig / autocomplete repo. I've just cloned it down. Basically, all of the specs are in this dev folder. So we've got AWS's spec and Brew, all of these tools. So what I'm going to do is just run this command, npm run create example. Let's say we're creating a CLI tool called ABC. And now what this has done, it's just given me the sort of boilerplate of like what a CLI tool looks like. And then I'm going to hide this. Whoa, what did I just do? Sorry. And then, right, I'm going to do npm run dev. This sets up our dev server.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can go straight to iTerm, type ABC, and that
nice.
spec that I just created, already there, live, tested, everything. I can click checkout, ready to go. So this is super cool. And so now we can make changes to this and they'll be reflected. So if I change this to ZYX, save it, git, whoops, ABC, sorry, ZYX, like all of these changes are reflected live. And so a cool thing is, let's look at it. Let's say we're building the Git checkout spec. And I'm going to go to a Git repo that I've got on my computer. This one is one. So if I run git branch here, see I have these 3 branches. And so what we want to do is when a user types git checkout, we want to offer all of these suggestions. So these are like contextual to my device. And so how do we do that? And the hard thing is with CLI tools, things like checkout, these are predefined, whereas it just says an argument is not really predefined. It sort of says, here is the blueprint for what should go here, but we don't know what is on your computer. So we need a way of saying, run this command, get this output, and generate the suggestions accordingly. And so to do that, we have this sort of concept of a generator. And so if I run generate, we create this thing called a generator, and really it's run a script.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll say git branch, and I think we do, it's like no color of git branch dash no. Yeah, that's right. And then I'm just going to do this thing called split on. Obviously, I'm not doing any special parsing logic, but what you'll see now is if I type the ABC completion spec, ABC checkout space, we've just like done that whole thing in Git. It's a super killer workflow. Git checkout, show me all my branches. Like that took me 2 seconds to build. Obviously, it has a little asterisk here, and we need to parse it out and make it a little bit better. But like, yeah, I wrote 3 lines of code and just did something that saves people literally an entire line of code every single time they Git checking out. Like pretty awesome how powerful this is. And so the places where this comes in handy are Git checkout or Git push origin, and then show me all my branches again. CD, LS, if we're doing something with Docker, I don't have Docker running, but you could do Docker pull, and then I think you can like run, you can see all of the containers that are there. Npm install, nice. Npm install React, and we're getting these output. We're getting this output. So like these, I would call them contextual suggestions, are so easy to make and like so powerful when you get them working. And this is like what we're really, really excited about, is how can we keep making this even easier to build and even better and more useful to the end user.
Yeah, it's super nice. I mean, I don't really like honestly install a ton of things on my machine because I have a pretty nice workflow that I'm so used to just to doing and using. So I downloaded Fig and I've been using it for the last couple of weeks, and I'm enjoying it. So it's been a, I would say, a productivity boost, a user experience, developer experience boost. So I recommend if anyone's watching this, at least give it a shot. And I'm curious, like, what are you all focusing on now that you're getting close to being, ready to go public with a public launch at some point, I'm sure. What are the things that you're focusing on now, and like, what would be the things that you're focusing on in the future?
So the focus now is, as I said, every developer has a custom environment, and we've spent so much time trying to support these different custom environments, and we're sort of plateauing now. So we're about to start ramping up, like really, really ramping up the number of people we're taking off our waitlist, and hopefully really soon getting rid of the waitlist. Because again, exclusivity is not the sort of core goal here. It is small engineering resources trying to support a lot of users. once we've done that, like, and in parallel to that, what we're also excited about now is how can this GUI that we've built that attaches to your cursor in the terminal, how can we make that better for teams? Like, what can we do with this for teams? And so we're looking at a ton of these team collaboration workflows, things like, I have an internal CLI tool at my company, and I've just joined the company and it's not documented. It's either a bash script, and I don't write bash. Like, no one writes bash anymore. It's this archaic sort of language. So if something breaks, I'm just screwed. Like, I don't know what arguments to pass into it. It's just this like super archaic thing. Or on the flip side, you have a big like a process list in Notion or in Confluence. It's like documentation, and that's really far away from my terminal. I have to like open up Notion. I have to find the freaking folder. It's like really far away. And so we're looking at, can we bring these terminal workflows that you are doing every single day when you're not just Git checking out, you're doing tests, there's some incident that you need to work on and you need to follow a procedure.
Mm-hmm.
Can we bring those into Fig, into the terminal where you're already working, make it easy for you to update those workflows and then share them with your team live? Like, that's what we're really exploring now. And because we have this GUI right next to where you're working, it's a pretty powerful interface to like really support team workflows and collaboration.
That's really cool. Yeah, I love it. So
yeah, you got to get there.
Hassan, how have you enjoyed working with Fig? I know is this your first developer relations job or developer advocacy job?
It is, yeah.
How long have you been there now?
A month right now.
Okay, so it's still really early. Okay, I'll ask you again in a few months.
yeah, definitely. But I mean, so far so good. It's been really nice getting to work with these guys and just watching them do their thing. It's been a pleasure.
So sounds been great.
We did have a question. I'm curious, as an open source developer, how you're looking to monetize the project. I know it's still fairly early on, so you might not be focused on this right now. But yeah, like where do you feel as a startup that you might be able to monetize in some time in the future?
So I really like HashiCorp's monetization model. Mitchell Hashimoto, I'm going to paraphrase what he said, but they just give HashiCorp out for free to individuals, and they just say, we will never charge individuals for any of these HashiCorp products. When they're going to start charging is not even at the team level; it's at the sort of multiple teams are using the product level. It's the sort of the enterprisey features of like audit control, like audit logs and SAML sign in, and these are the enterprisey things that aren't. They're top down things that are required by the organization. And the reason being is we don't want a developer to be a power user and then to get to the point where they're going like, oh, I have to pay for this now. Like, I'm just going to churn out. Like, we really want you, once you get started on Fig and it's become part of your workflow, it should never leave your workflow. So our monetization is really, as I just said, we're looking at these team workflows. And if it's an internal CLI tool across a company, we want to support every individual developer, make their lives really, really easy. And then when it comes to putting the credit card down and actually paying for this, it's going to come from the engineering manager or the CTO who's saying like, okay, well, we need these sort of company-wide things, as opposed to an engineer who is a power user who is just like wants to get more out of it. So the monetization is really, we can host this stuff on behalf of the company so they don't have to spin up all of these servers. We can provide support. We can provide these special like SAML sign-on things at the company enterprisey level, whilst we just have built a product that developers are using every day and love and are just naturally adopting across their team.
Cool. Makes sense.
Yeah, we look at it as like, if enough developers love Fig and like love what we're doing, we can eventually, monetize in all of these different ways, whether that's like enterprise, whether it's like add-ons or an app store ecosystem or any of this stuff. I think the really important part is that developers really love what we do. And we're very fortunate enough to receive all of these messages every day of like, oh, I'm like loving this. I could never imagine my like terminal workflow without Fig. And that's how I felt when I used it for the first time, kind of a few weeks before I joined. Just a little detour, but I was set to start a job in Philly after I graduated. And the Fig guys reached out and we talked, and within the span of, a few days, I booked my ticket cross country to San Francisco and decided to go join them just because I love the developer experience of using it. And I wanted to bet on it.
Yeah, there's so much cool stuff, it seems, happening as within the developer tooling space right now. It seems like there's a pretty big focus on bringing better developer experience just in general to different areas. It's pretty cool to see all this stuff happening.
I think the pandemic has definitely had something to do with it, because these developers that were in their jobs, in the office, now are just at home, and they're not going to go outside, or at least in the early days of the pandemic, weren't going to go outside and do stuff. So they were just scratching their own itch of, hey, I've never had time to work on a side project that would help me. And yeah, I'm just going to build it and launch it. And hey, a lot of other people had this problem as well. And yeah, it's like during the pandemic, we've been talking to people about the terminal, and they've been like, yep, finally time to actually do a deep dive on this thing and work out what the hell is going on.
So if someone wanted to, follow you all on social media or kind of learn more about the project, what are some resources for them to check out?
Hassan, you want to do this one?
Yeah, we're very, very active on Discord. So if you join our Discord, fig.io/community, you could just receive help in real time there if you're building completion specs, or if you have any problems or ideas or anything like that. We're super responsive there. We're pretty active on Twitter as well. Yeah, those are probably the big two.
I think the one interesting thing my co-founder Matt says a lot is the terminal is this really isolating environment. Like, because it is so secure, it's not like you're constantly sharing it with people. And so when you struggle with it, you don't really have anyone to help you. And one of the things I love about our community is we have a lot of channels around just cool bash tips and CLI tools that you've picked up, and your nice theme that you've discovered. All of these things that are just spread throughout the internet currently. And it's nice having the community. It's not just like, oh, here is Fig and here's how you build autocomplete. It is, hey, the terminal is something that's really cool and powerful, and I actually want to be a power user of it. I want to know the best practices. And currently, I don't know the best practices unless I'm literally watching someone else code. And so it's a nice place to actually learn all of these best practices. I literally every day learn a new CLI tool, learn a new language. It's just like the terminal is the glue for everything. So it is awesome. I really like it.
Yeah, like the difference between today versus, like, I would say almost 10 years ago when I first started in the terminal for the very first time, it's like complete night and day. All these things would have been so nice to have as back then, and they're nice to have now, but they would have just been so nice to have when I first started learning how to code, and I first started working the terminal. You get no feedback mechanism back then. Like, you get a little bit better now, but you still have to have something like ZSH installed or whatever. I don't really know how it feels, honestly, to work from a raw terminal at this point because it's been so long. But I do remember how it used to be.
And yeah, as Hassan said, we're also pretty active on Twitter. Always going to throw a shout out. We got the @Fig Twitter handle, so we're very excited about that.
That's pretty big.
Twitter handle. It is pretty big. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that's it then. That'll wrap it up. So thanks for both of you all for coming on. This is going to go on YouTube as well. So if you know anyone that might be interested in seeing this at another time, check out my YouTube. It's youtube.com/natterdabit. And this will be in my feed. So yeah, that's it. So we'll see you around.
Thank you, Nada. Really appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for your questions.